I'd like to call the first meeting of the fall semester, September 10th, 2019, to order. We're back. I hope you're as excited as we are. I'd like to start with recognitions.
Neil, you
Kick it to me? Sure.
Yes.
Great. So two important folks to introduce to you here tonight. The board will recall that we didn't have a lot of new positions in the budget last spring, but one of them was our Director of Safety and Security. And we held a process in June with a very strong pool of over 20 applicants. We interviewed 8 of those applicants. It was an extremely impressive process that involved our administrators, and pleased that we found one of Simsbury's own to be the first Director of Safety and Security for the Simsbury Public Schools. And I thought I would have Mark Kritz tell you a little bit about his background. Mark?
So, good evening, folks.
Welcome, Mark.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. So, as you all know, I'm a 25-year veteran of the Simsbury Police Department. Retired as a sergeant. Still kind of on the books right now for another couple of weeks. But, October 2nd is the date. But with my career, I started off in patrol, went to community service, special service officer, school resource officer, juvenile detective, and then got promoted to sergeant and was a training sergeant, and then went out back on patrol. So 25 years with that. With that I had 22 years in the Army Reserve. I retired as a major. Did a deployment to Afghanistan back in 2002, right after my unit got mobilized right after 9/11, and so I did a little time in Afghanistan as well. So that's pretty much my career in a nutshell. So.
And certainly, I think that many of us who have been administrators in Simsbury for a long time, when we had a chance to work with Mark as a school resource officer, as a youth detective, he put a great stamp on that role. And we, as we went through that interview process, knew we were comfortable with his understanding of schools and how security works, and that was really what made him stand out as the lead candidate. And we've got him hard at work already. And
So this is what I wear every day, just so you can see it. Figured it would be the best thing for people to identify with, because it's the coach's shirt. What we did was we put security on the back. So the reason I wanted that done was so that if we do have an incident at any of the schools, the patrol officers coming in from behind me will recognize who I am, so that there won't be any what we call blue-on-blue shootings, friendly-on-friendly shootings. So that's the reason why we went with something like this. So,
thank you,
that's
Mark.
all I did about that.
Thank you, Mark. Welcome.
Thank you.
And our other guest here tonight is, as many of you may know, our school resource officer program has been going strong for a long time at Simsbury High School, probably back almost 20 years. And Jeremy Cormier, who did a great job in that role over the last few years. He and his wife recently had a baby, decided it was time for him to go back to some other kind of policing work, and he's back on patrol. We interviewed for a new school resource officer at the high school, and had the wonderful opportunity to meet Laurel Harrington, and wanted to have Laurel tell you a little bit about what she's been doing in the Simsbury Police Department.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for having me here. So I've been with Simsbury PD for 6 years. The last few years, Sergeant Kritz was actually my boss, so it's pretty cool that we get to continue to work together. So over the 6 years, I'm part of our regional accident reconstruction team. I'm a field training officer for the department. One of the things that I'm most proud of, and I think that's really gonna, that I'm excited to be in the schools for, is I do a lot with the Special Olympics. So I'm on the statewide Law Enforcement Torch Run Council for Special Olympics. So I plan on hoping to get our schools more involved. I know we already have a huge unified sports program, but I definitely plan to kind of help with that. And yeah, so I'm excited for the position. School has started off great, and I'm enjoying it so far. So great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I saw your video over the summer. Nice job.
Thank you. Which one?
I was on Facebook.
Was it the one that
There were two.
Cushman
There's
was-
the uniform one.
Todd Cushman was
Yeah,
half
I saw
asleep
the-
in one of them.
Yep.
Coming off of midnight. We booked that video. Yeah, I didn't realize he was working midnight. So.
All right. And
Excellent.
I have the pleasure of talking a little bit about Sumalika who is our 2019-20 Simsbury Teacher of the Year. And Sue was announced at our convocation, our opening of the school year. Sue is a 40-year veteran to teaching, which is just incredible. And one of the parts that I love about this process, at the end of it, it's a pretty rigorous process that our own teachers run, and they really value great teaching practices and what they're looking for. But one thing we do is I have an opportunity to meet with the teacher to talk about, hey, what is your messaging going to be on opening day to our staff? And I get an opportunity to learn much more about that individual. And I had a great time with you talking about how you were putting your ideas together and kind of walking me through your incredibly successful 40 years, talking about your mom and what an impact she had on you as an early advocate for you in education. But Sue has taught at every one of our schools outside of Simsbury High School, correct?
Although I'm with Simsbury Arts Academy, I'm
Yeah,
there.
Yeah.
there in the summertime.
Yeah.
I still interact with a lot of the high school students.
Yeah.
They come back and work
Yeah.
with me.
Has touched so many lives, is incredibly passionate, committed, and dedicated. So Sue is in the process for the State Teacher of the Year and has been named a semifinalist and actually has an interview this week. So we
Yes,
were talking
indeed.
about that on the way in.
Thursday morning at 8:30.
There you go. So we wish you the best with that, and we're so proud of you and know you're going to represent us well. And congratulations, and thank you for coming out on a busy night for a few minutes. So thank you.
At convocation, she had her students come and sing, and it was really spectacular.
Stole the day.
It was really
great.
wonderful.
It was
And they were so excited for you. That was
Oh,
made
yeah,
it even,
they're sweet.
it was very, very special.
Yeah.
It was wonderful. So tonight, we also are introducing to the board our two new student representatives for the year. We have Kayla Huey, who is starting for the fall, and then Josh Kolc will be coming in the spring, or I guess the winter. But it's very exciting. If you guys want to just tell us a little bit about yourselves.
All right, well, my name is Kayla. I'm a senior at Simsbury High School, and this is my first time really doing anything like this, and I'm just really excited to get started and, get to be a part of something like this. So
Great.
thanks for having me.
Happy to have you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Josh Pico. I'm also a senior. I'll be graduating with the class of 2020. And I have a passion for history and civic engagement, and I've always been involved with the community, and really glad to be here as well.
Welcome.
Very, very fun. I'm going to open the board up at this point in time to public audience. And seeing none at the moment. You all get a chance at the end of the day, too. I'm going to move on to board and administrative communications. Kayla just introduced herself to us, so we're going to give her the break tonight and let her get prepared for next week. Tom?
I have nothing tonight, thank you.
Brian?
Nothing tonight.
Jennifer?
I will say I went to the high school's open house for freshman sophomore year, and it was great to see. It was like a good turnout, and was thinking that it was just overwhelming positive coming out of the school so far.
Excellent. Lydia?
Yes, I have briefly. I just literally came from a McHugh Board of Directors meeting, and our new commissioner, Miguel Cadrona, was there with members of the State Board of Education. And so we just had a little question and answer and got to learn a little bit about him. So he started off by saying that with 530,000 students in Connecticut, he would like to have his legacy, or while he is in the office of commissioner, to help shape education in Connecticut. And he talked a lot about the disparity in Connecticut, the achievement gap, the workforce ready, the job trends. How do you address us being responsible, we as educators and boards of education, for the economy of the state, considering education is really the economic driver in this state, or actually in all states. He talked about going viral with things that are working in the state, and about focusing on regional initiatives and innovative collaboration. We've heard about this all before, but this is going to be part two of what Commissioner Wenzel had discussed previously. He also talked about addressing diversifying teacher recruitment, teacher prep, and support for before accountability. And I asked him before I was leaving to come here, I said, Commissioner, what is your most important goal that you would like to present to boards of educations and superintendents. And so he said, doing the due diligence for the kids, leveraging talent, and he said, boards of education matter. It doesn't seem like it sometimes in some boards, but he said that is the most important thing, the commitment. He is just awestruck by the commitment that we have as elected officials have our duty before us on the boards. So he challenged us to be leaders with a challenging environment because our kids are hanging in the balance, and he said, let's hold ourselves accountable to what we do as we start off the school year. So this was the address that he had given for the superintendents back in August, and was had the chance to speak to about 30 of us around the board table from the four corners of the state. So he's young, he's refreshing, he's innovative. He comes from assistant superintendency in Meriden, Connecticut, so he brings with him a lot of diversity areas, and also being the first Hispanic commissioner that we have in Connecticut. So we are really looking forward to having a good working relationship with him throughout the coming year. I know superintendents are also going to have the same thing. So that's where I came from tonight. And also, I just recently was elected back in August in Chicago for another 3-year term on the NSBA, National School Board Association Boards of Director. So that term commences in April 2020. So we have, thank you, and we have a lot of work ahead of us as we prepare now for the next congressional session, literally around the corner in January. So that's it. More to come.
Congratulations, and thank you very much.
Thank you. I look forward to it very much in serving the boards of education, not only mine and not only state of Connecticut, but I also serve the whole Northeast region corridor, which is about 15 states. So I look forward to jumping back into that position. So good things are happening around the country, and that I will reiterate what Commissioner Cardona had mentioned was, we have to pat ourselves on the back for what we are doing, and we share these best practices. So that's it.
Thank you very much.
I'm switching seats. I have nothing.
You're staying right here.
Todd, you're so much easier to follow.
Fight over me.
And what are you sharing?
Nothing. I'm glad to be back here. I'm glad to welcome our new students. Thanks for being here.
Hey, just real briefly, the board will remember in the spring you all asked me to participate on the Sustainability Committee, which is a board or group comprised of representatives from many of the boards in town. And that started really about in May or so. I'm happy to report that we got in our application, that we met the August 30th deadline, which it was a feat in and of itself. It's a very comprehensive application that can get you certain different levels. There's a silver, a bronze, and a gold level, and you have a certain amount of points to meet to reach each level. We thought we were just going to go, and you can do this in a multiple year, so we thought we were just going to try to hit the bronze this year and keep working throughout the year on this. Well, I'm happy to report we got in an application actually at the silver level. With I think it was 450 points. You probably won't get all of them, but we're trying, and I'm happy to report the Board of Ed and everything that we're doing, where our fingerprints are all over this application.
What
so
do the
it's great
points
stuff.
do?
You get prizes. No, each
Big teddy bear,
action.
you get a star.
Exactly. Or the goldfish in a bowl. No, there's different actions you take throughout the town that get you a certain amount of points, and you need a certain amount of points to hit the designations. Yeah.
Okay, great. Perfect.
So more to come.
Thank you very much.
Busy summer.
Hello, Mrs. Hamrock-Lemke.
Hello. 2 quick announcements. The first is that our Community for Care will be starting up tomorrow, actually, with a 5:30 business meeting at the Simsbury Public Library Program Room, followed by a 6 p.m. program facilitated by Tom Steen on suicide prevention. So he has been a great community partner for the town of Simsbury in that work. So certainly that's a public event, and we invite you all to attend. The second is that our colleagues from Ethel Walker just reached out yesterday, and last November they attended the program where we had Lynn Lyons, who's one of many national experts on anxiety, and they attended, loved it. They're bringing Lynn Lyons back to the Ethel Walker campus and said, please share with the broader Simsbury community. So that's going to be happening this coming Monday, September 16th at 7 p.m. And I will be sharing more detailed information with principals to share on their listservs. So be watching for that as well.
So is that for students and parents or parents?
So great question. Last time it was for students around middle school age, I would say, and up, anywhere from grade 6 on up. Certainly parents and other professionals in the community.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
It's wonderful to have a relationship with them, so anytime that can work out, it's fabulous.
Great.
I want to thank Jeff, Susan, Todd, and Brian for coming early tonight. We met as the Personnel and Negotiations Committee. As teacher and administrator negotiations will go into high gear starting next week, and we had a good prep session with that committee, and our work with the teachers will begin September 17th, and with the administrators on September 23rd, with a goal of settling those contracts in late October, early November. So a lot of nights out for those folks, and we appreciate their commitment to that work.
I'd just like to say welcome to everyone. It's great to be back. As educators, we always get to start a new year, and I can't tell you how pleased I am to be back with you this fall.
Good to have you.
We are very happy to have you back.
Just wanted to update the board. We received notification yesterday from the Office of School Construction Grants that our second phase of the Henry James project is ready to go out to bid, and that is the purchase of furniture. So I wanted to thank the board for scheduling the special summer meeting and giving the thumbs up so that we could submit that that next step in our process. And later on tonight, you'll see a few pictures of the progress. Thank you.
My 8th grader got a tour of it today with his tech ed class. Great. He got 2 thumbs up from him.
Excellent. Thank you all very much. Moving on to recommended actions.
Let me share one thing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
You usually don't say anything, but
I say something every meeting. Nice,
so
nice
sorry.
recovery.
Unfortunately, we have not had the same vacation as everyone else.
Just wanted to share one information item. We've scheduled 2 facilities enrollment task force meetings, one for October 1st, one for October 30th. So this is obviously going to be a significant topic that we will have conversations with the Board of Education throughout this year on. I wanted to go back to where we ended last year. There are 2 prongs to this major study. The first was a current conditions study that we had, that the Board of Ed had a presentation on, the Facilities and Enrollment Task Force had a presentation on, and we actually did a community forum on. The second part of this process is the creation of a master plan, like a 10-year master plan, and a reconfiguration study. So, which will include talks about renovation, discussion about new construction, reconfiguration, several different things. So we're very excited about what we've seen from Tecton, the company we're working with. Want to take that information and have a vetting session or 2 with the facilities and enrollment so we can best figure out the continuum of conversations and meetings we want to have in public to get feedback and get input from the board and the community. But very exciting.
Can I just ask a quick question,
Sure.
please, Matt? Because I was thinking tonight about Vision of a Graduate. When's the next checkpoint on Vision of a Graduate
So
program?
we're going to touch on it a little bit tonight, Tom, in the launch of the year, but the launch of the school year, as we get into it and we have our high school report and our middle school report and our elementary reports, they will be talking to you about how they have initiated the work at their buildings around the Vision of Graduate and tied that to our strategic plan.
I got it.
So a lot of our meetings, we're going to reframe how we do those reports with you, really consistently with the new Board of Education goals, guided by the Vision of the Graduate.
Thank you.
Yep. I'm good.
Are you done now? Thank you for sharing. Moving on to recommended actions. Approval of minutes of June 11th.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carries. Moving on to approval of minutes of June 28th, our special meeting.
I'll move.
Thanks, Jen. Second? Anyone?
Second, sorry.
Thank you, Ms. Selena. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Moving on to our special meeting of August 8th.
So moved.
Thanks, Tom. Second?
I'll do it again.
Thank you, Sue. There were other people at that meeting, I'm just saying.
Just saying, it wasn't just me.
I'm looking to see which one is which, so I know whether to abstain or not.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Point of order,
Point of order?
Madam Chair. Todd and I have to abstain from the regular meeting on June 11th. I just
Thank you very much.
did, I didn't do that, so I'm abstaining from that.
All right,
I gave my.
You were
two
good.
thumbs up. Moving on to personnel.
Excellent. We
Mr.
have
Sullivan.
three actions that require your vote tonight, and then we'll do a look at our new teacher hiring over the spring and summer. But we start with, as the board is used to, there is a piece in the teacher's contract where they can give us notice of an intent to retire in the future within 3 years. And Sandy LaFave of Latimer Lane School, by the time she's done in 3 years, she will have given us 25 years of teaching at Latimer Lane School, currently in 5th grade, and ask you to accept the motion for her intent to retire.
I'll move.
Please do. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Anyone have anything to say? Any concerns, All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? A lot of thank you to her, for sure. That's
We get her
great
for-
dedication.
Get her for 3 more years, so that's always a
Right.
good thing. 2 resignations that occurred over the summer, one in the spring, right at the end of the year. Caitlin Kenny was a wonderful hire for us 2 years ago, was a primary grade teacher, kindergarten most recently, at Central School, Notre Dame grad, super energy and skill in the classroom. She is getting married, and she and her fiance are returning to the Philadelphia area. So there's some lucky school in the Philadelphia area that's going to get Caitlin Kenny, and we congratulate her on her marriage and wish her the best. Second one is Georgia Austin, who some will remember was our Teacher of the Year a few years ago, was also a kindergarten teacher at Central School before she became a math coach in the last few years. And Georgia had a wonderful opportunity to become an assistant principal in another school district locally over the summer, interviewed and was the chosen candidate for that process, and we congratulate her on becoming an administrator in another school district. So congratulations to Georgia, and the motion needs to be read into the record there. If someone could do that.
Jen, you want to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Move that the Board of Education accept the resignations of Caitlin Kenny, effective June 30th, 2019. Georgia Austin, effective August 7th, 2019.
I'll second.
Any questions, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And the last one is Andrea Dew, who is a 2nd grade teacher at Squadron Line. Was fortunate to have another child recently and has decided that for the 1920 school year, she's going to stay at home with her family. So this is a non-salaried guaranteed leave, meaning we hold the position for her for 1 year, and she has to let us know by March if it's her intention to return for next year.
I'll move that the Board of Education approve the request for non-salaried guaranteed leave of absence for Andrea Dew, effective August 26, 2019 through June 30, 2020.
Second.
Thank you, Jeff. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we have a whole bunch of appointments, but I brought visuals because we will quickly go through our we have 18 new teachers that we brought into the Simsbury Public Schools. We always share this at our convocation. I'm going to just go quickly through 5 teachers at Simsbury High School. Cameron Bopp, who is out of Central Connecticut. I can tell you his recommendation from Central Connecticut. The supervisor of that department told us we got the best that they've graduated from that program in the last several years, and he replaces Andy Bukulski, who you will remember also became an assistant principal in a local district. So we welcome Cameron to Simsbury. Jovin Girard, the board will remember that this was one of the other new positions that we put in. We've been adding to our social work force at the elementary level. This now gets a partner for Meredith Brockbank at the high school level, and somebody already with social work experience in a high school, and we were very fortunate to bring Jovin onto our staff. Wojciech Kolc is an experienced math teacher from the Meriden Public Schools, taught a lot of advanced math classes there, impressed everybody with a demo lesson during the summer that was excellently done. And in addition to being high school, he's actually going to teach our advanced class for the 6th grade that travels up to Henry James. So be an interesting experience for Wojciech. Michael Spescha is a chemistry teacher who comes to us with not only about the 2 hardest certifications there are. He's a chemistry teacher. He's also got a physics certification.
Wow.
We're going to put him to good use over the next several years. And you can see, in addition to his teaching, he's had experience as a National Honor Society advisor. The first teacher that we hired last spring, we went out early knowing that Latin might be a hard to recruit area, and we were fortunate that Andrew Wojciech, who had done his teaching most recently in Farmington, was ready to make the move over to Simsbury, and really had a great process in coming to meet Andrew, and he's off to a great start. At Central School, actually, several hires. Kara Abon was a kindergarten teacher hire. This was actually to replace Caitlin Kenny, who we just talked about. And this was one of the joys of my summer, with a demo lesson where she had a lesson with 3 little kids that we brought in about counting, and we bribed them with ice cream, and they were wonderful. And she lit the room on fire. So we welcome Kara. Tara Harrison is going to be the art teacher at Central School. You can see there from the slide that she's most recently taught at the Anna Grace Academy of Arts. Had the chance to bring her in. I know Shannon Gagne got a chance to go to Tara's art show at the end of the spring, and really a wonderful welcome to Central School. Karli Heneghan actually substituted at Central School last year as a library media specialist. Loved the culture and the environment so much that when there was a teacher opening, she used her certification to apply for a teacher opening, and she's going to be a grade 5 teacher and already knows everybody in the school from her experience last year. Our math coach, due to a retirement, Alden Paye, who had experience as a teacher in Farmington, but also experience as a math coach in the Hartford Public Schools. So we were lucky to find someone with that experience as well, and Alden is welcomed to Central School. At Latimer Lane, we had a very late addition of a 4th grade class in the summer. Our 4th graders kept coming at Latimer Lane. We added a teacher, and Tien Chen came to us. She had been out of teaching for a few years, raising a family, had gotten back in as a long-term substitute in West Hartford, and we got West Hartford did not have any openings. Our superintendent got a personal call from the superintendent at West Hartford and said, "This is one of the best teachers we have. You need to bring her in," and we did. So congratulations to Tien. And Charlene Savino, who has been a long-term substitute with us in Spanish, was able to, through the alternate route program, get certified last year. And this will be, you'll remember that we're adding to our elementary Spanish program, and Charlene is going to be the other teacher in elementary Spanish. So it's not just Central, she'll also be at 2 other elementary schools. At Squadron Line School, Nicol Decker is our new speech and language pathologist. She did her demo lesson on literally the last day of school. Imagine you've got to get kids engaged while they're ready to go on summer vacation. She was fabulous.
She was great.
Sue sent her right down to sign a contract, and we are pleased to welcome Nicol. Alex Mazza, this guy brings so much energy. This kid is going to be an absolute magnet for the kids at Squadron Line, but also he teaches 2 classes in the morning at Henry James before he heads over to Squadron Line. And the other Central Connecticut grad who we were told that he was the absolute tops out of his department. Sarah McHugh has been a literacy specialist in the Litchfield Public Schools. This job is combined as a language arts consultant and reading intervention, and her combination of skills was a perfect match. George DeVita was in as a interview for a fourth grade teaching position. As you can see, he's making a transition from being a golf professional into education. I thought it was a setup. I thought they just wanted me to have somebody to talk to in the interview. We talked a little bit about golf and a lot about teaching fourth grade, and he's going to be tremendous up at Squadron Line. Allison Frankel, we hired two wonderful, experienced special educators, one here at Squadron. Allison came to us from the Ellington Public Schools, personally recommended to Sue Lemke by the director there. Great skill and will be a great addition to Squadron Line. And then the other one is Jessica Burke, who most recently was in the Farmington Public Schools. Both of these are people who are teaching in other places, but they were Simsbury residents. Both of them are coming close to home to be able to teach, and Jessica will be in the primary grades at Tooten Hills. And the last teacher, Emily Gauthier, this was a process that Maggie Seidel put her through the ringer like nobody's business, but found a great grade 1 teacher with a few years of experience in Coventry that really showed through in the interview process. So it was a wonderful recruiting season. We're really proud of the 18 educators we brought in and feel like we've added talent to the bench. It's really, really a special season for us. So.
Yeah, it does. Excellent, excellent. It's very exciting. We all look very excited to start it up. We are moving on to information and reports already, unless anyone else has any more recommended actions. We're clear?
So one report tonight. We're trying to get back in game shape a little bit.
I'm a little slow.
Right. So the opening report really will give board members and people listening at home a feel for some of the work that was accomplished over the summer, and as we head into the new year, what some of our focal areas are. So each member of the team has a bit to go through and talk about their department's work, what they've been focusing on, and where we're headed. So we're excited to share tonight. I think, Erin, do you lead the way here?
It's always great to start with teaching and learning because that's what we're here in the business for. So tonight I'll have the opportunity to talk with you about our summer curriculum work, professional learning, summer academies, and instructional technology that's been going on since we closed school back in June, and the summer work. It's always exciting. Everybody asks, what do you do in the summer? It's one of the busiest times for people. So I'll start with our summer curriculum. We did a summer curriculum kickoff on June 18th. We had over 60 of our educators there to learn about our new platform called EduPlanet. EduPlanet 21, which houses curriculum. So last year I had 50 users. This year I have 100 users of EduPlanet, and I've got some great examples that I can be sharing with you over the course of the school year. And with that, in our curriculum clinic, we were able to really talk a lot about our 5-year Board of Ed goals, including the vision of the graduate. So the new units are including competencies and elements and the attributes of vision of the graduate in our new units, clarity of outcomes, so we're making it very clear for teachers, equity practices within there as well, and obviously using this platform which gives, we were selective in the sense of, for example, social studies, 9th grade social studies team came together and put in their units, and so they all have access to EduPlanet to be able to update it so it becomes a real living document. So we had at the high school 25 projects, 13 at the middle school, 30 at the elementary level, so 68 projects that took place this summer with 50 teachers from the high school, 40 plus at the middle school, 75 plus teachers from the elementary, so 165 plus teachers that were involved in summer curriculum work. So not only was this summer curriculum, but they were also our elementary principals bring in teachers in which to work with them on their plans, their leadership teams, their behavioral teams that they have, and intervention teams. So that's a lot of people to be working over the summertime. In regard to professional development, we're always interested in ensuring that we're providing ongoing embedded learning for teachers, and teachers will step forward that are interested in going forward. We had one teacher head to Vermont to take an AP European History course to bring him up to speed. 3 teachers that went to Taft School, one that was focused on AP Stats, an AP Latin, and AP Physics that did that. And then we had in August, late July, early August, about 20 teachers and administrators that went up to Massachusetts and went to a Greg Tang Math and Focus program, and they just couldn't say enough about what they had there. Oh, let me not go. I guess I'm going there. Okay. So it really was great to be able to spend the summer and really bringing our curriculum, to the next level and incorporating all the kinds of things that we've worked so hard over the last 18 months to incorporate, and we'll continue to do that kind of professional development and learning over the course of the year.
Excuse me, Aaron, just
Yes.
a quick question in the write-up, the more
Yes.
detailed write-up. In the third bullet point, there's a reference to featuring Dr. Banhar, a foremost expert in Singapore math.
Yes.
Is Singapore math something that is?
Math and Focus.
Okay.
Yes. And so he's
Another
been,
name for math.
he's been great. We've had lots of teachers that have visited a lot of his sessions as well. So it's wonderful. At some point, we'll bring him to the district. It's just a matter of getting on his calendar. Likewise with Greg Tang, he's really quite fascinating. We're all following him on Twitter. He's got, great information, and at some point, we would really like to bring him to district as well, to continue to build the skill of our teachers as they work. So every summer, we have summer academies. We have really 2 types of academies. We have academies for our struggling learners that continue to need support over the summertime, and we do that both in literacy and in math for our K-4 students, and those went really well. And then we also offer the enrichment in writing and math, and that's for students that really want to take themselves to the next level, and they've been well attended this summer as well. Simsbury Arts Academy, if you have any opportunity to really see what goes on with this, it's fascinating, the amount of hustle and bustle that's going on with kids in grades 4 through 12. They had over 90 students. They had an unbelievable performance. I happened to walk into the middle of it. I wasn't here a lot in the summertime, but I walked in and Shannon Gagne was dressed up like a mermaid. And I was like, you are like on top. It was so great. But not only, it's not only the kids, it's our educators from Simsbury that participate. We have other college interns that come, 6 college interns, and it's just an incredible opportunity for students, and it's been going on for several years now.
Quick question about that, or 2 questions about the Summer Academy. I really wasn't that familiar with it until reading this, and it just sounds terrific, this blast off to summer, the math carnival,
Yes.
the writing and mathematics.
Yes.
And I'm just wondering, how do we make our parents aware of these opportunities? And B, is the participation in these summer learning opportunities growing, declining, or staying stable?
So we start in the springtime identifying students through classroom teachers and saying who are the students that we would want to really, it really comes out at the March conference time for parents. So we tell them about the summer academies, but we also talk about students that need the reinforcement and talk about students that could continue with some enrichment opportunities as well. It's stayed pretty stable. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I certainly can get those for you.
No, I don't need the exact, I'm just
But
wondering
it's
if there
been,
is a trend.
No, it's been pretty stable. We always did a writing enrichment, and this summer was a math enrichment program. And kids are quite engaged and interested to really go deeper into problem solving, critical thinking, and those kinds of opportunities around math. And with the writing, just really the creative writing opportunities that it provides students is really exciting.
Well, that's such a strong program. I know we've got many, many goals and many objectives and everything, But wouldn't it be wonderful if we could double the number of students that participate in that summer learning experience?
Yeah.
You know, sort of that one of our goals. Is there some way we can broaden the reach of these fantastic programs? Just an observation,
Sure,
that's all.
sure.
Thanks.
So for instructional technology, we ended last year with the second year of Chromebooks at the high school, moving into year 3, hard to believe. But what we've done also is come with Henry James with the one-to-one. They've been distributed, as far as I know. Almost every, if not every student has a Chromebook now at the middle school. And we were able to take the senior Chromebooks and redistribute those as well. So it's really been quite exciting. In second grade, we've expanded our iPads so that it's a 2-to-1 ratio for iPads in second and down into first and kindergarten as well. STEM, we're always looking for ways to expand our STEM program. As we know, Ensign Bickford has donated that $10,000. They were able to, and I'm not going to be able to answer many questions, I haven't been over to see it, but a fabrication lab, so I'm not quite sure what that entails at this point right now. And the other piece that I am familiar with, because we've been talking about it for a couple of years, are mobile carts that will be able to be used around the building, multifaceted carts that can be brought into classrooms. So that's pretty exciting to see that type of thing working. We also receive a Perkins grant, and with that grant, they were able to buy a laser cutter and a 3D printers. So those are the kinds of things that really make that opportunity a much deeper learning experience for students. And what we're hoping to be able to do is really get more kids involved. And once we open up the middle school, when the renovation at the middle school is complete, and we have more opportunities to really build maker spaces and opportunities like that, is going to be really quite nice. They also, at one point this summer, created some kind of communication device, an assisted technology device, and they're going to continue doing that with our manufacturing and engineering design course. And so, you know, it's moving along, and it's really making, you know, it a wonderful opportunity to engage as many kids as we can in that. So we also have at Latimer Central and Tooten a first Lego league teams, and our SHS robotics team will also support them over the course of the year. It's an after-school program. Tooten Hills, the Latimer and Central are more driven by the staff within the school. Tooten has a lot of parental interest in working at Tooten Hills with those groups. So again, getting more kids into technology and into this realm is really quite exciting. And the last area that we're looking at this year is Gmail migration. We're moving, it's going to be an entire year process where we're doing small groups of people. We're moving from Outlook to Gmail, and by April, engaging teachers in that process, and so by the end of the year, but it will be a multi-year. It will be a 2-year process that we'll engage in. So with all of this, I hope that you've heard me talk about our new strategic plan in bits and pieces along the way, and we're so excited to think how these next 5 years are going to be, I think, some of our most productive years as we think through student success, positive school culture, and our premier workforce. I will be working very closely with principals, with department supervisors, and our coaches around the vision of the graduate competencies and attributes, and looking at how we can continue to use data to address our achievement gap. We also, within our culture and our units, we want to make sure we're providing equity and diversity, whether it's through literature, through topics. So those are areas that we're looking at as well. And that we're providing intervention supports for students. And I can only continue to, talk more about professional learning. We know that we as administrators have to continue to learn. It's what the work is all about. But as we learn, we want to make sure that administrators are learning. We want to make sure that our teachers are learning on a regular basis, and that we know we do that through collaboration. So we believe that these new goals that were designed by the Board of Education are going to guide us in the right direction, and you'll hear more and more about this as the year goes on.
Very exciting. Thank
All
you very
right.
much.
There's the baton handoff.
There you
here.
go.
So the Office of Pupil Services. So tonight for the board, I'll share with you what our summer looked like. Our first couple of weeks of kickoff as far as professional development for both our certified and our paraeducators, and what we're going to be looking at, what are going to be our focal areas of the department this year. So we start with extended school year. So over the course of the summer, we serviced 145 students that were identified with special needs, anywhere from preschool students to students who attend our Farmington Valley Transitional Academy. So when we talk about extended school year, that can range for a variety of skills, whether they be academic, behavioral, social in nature, and we have sites all over the Simsbury community and the greater Farmington Valley community. So I want to give a special shout out to Christina Nordell. She is a she is a teacher of many students in our functional academic learning program at the middle school, but this is her third year as extended school year coordinator, and the amount of work and detail that she covers to make sure that our students are having experiences where their skills are maintained is pretty incredible. So I want to have a special shout out to her. Our professional development sessions before our students came were extremely focused for our faculty as well as our paraeducators. So with our faculty, there was a reinforcement, quite frankly, of our strategic goals. And what did those 4 goal areas mean? How does that align with the vision of the graduate? And how do we ensure in the Office of Pupil Services that every student, most especially the students with identified disabilities, walk away with skills in those 6 competency areas of the vision of the graduate. So we had some pretty robust discussions about what that looks like, specifically our area of focus on global citizenship this year, and how those competencies and our strategic goals are related to our department mission. In doing so, we looked at some significant cohort data that is outlined in more detail in the school opening report, but certainly you'll be hearing more about. We also went over some case law updates and how that impacts our practice. And of course, we always end on a high note with a lot of motivation as we were greeting students. The paraeducator session very much was a duplicate of what I shared with the certified faculty. In particular, we talked about how in their role as paraeducators, do they make sure that students are exhibiting the greatest level of independence as possible. That is an inherent part of our mission statement. And we also assessed their professional development needs for the coming year. So 2 great PD sessions before the students even came. Department focus areas. So again, these should not be unfamiliar to the board. They just take a new look each and every year as we set new goals relative to these topic areas. So certainly our achievement gap. Again, you'll see some wonderful celebratory data relative to our students with identified disabilities and their performance, whether that be on SAT or on the SBAC. So that is there for the board, and I'll expand upon that in meetings that are coming up. We also had done some pretty extensive work in the behavioral and mental health support area. This actual coming week, a number of our administrators as well as our mental health support staff will be participating in some additional very focused training on school threat assessments and how do we develop our skill set to ascertain whether a statement that's made is transient in nature or it has some more substance. So certainly I'll be updating the board more on that work. Transition continues to be an area of focus for us. The board may recall that I facilitate a Farmington Valley group of transition specialists, and we are working very hard to develop what is our scope and sequence so we can say with confidence that when students graduate with a Simsbury High School diploma or from one of our neighboring towns, that they have not only the content knowledge, but they have the soft skills that can sometimes get in the way of success in the adult world. So more on that. And along with Matt, the Office of Pupil Services will be facilitating Equity Council. So we are collaborating with the Center of School Change. We will be having our first Equity Council meeting on Thursday, September 19th, and certainly sharing with the board how equity is continuously thread through our strategic goals. So we'll be taking a look at how do we develop our definition of equity and understanding of what that means, looking at some specific data relative to Simsbury, and then as a group making some recommendations to the superintendent. So Matt certainly will be providing updates along the way, but you'll be hearing more about that work from the Office of Pupil Services. Finally, some additional considerations in working with my leadership team and doing some pretty significant dives into our individualized education plans, or IEPs, which are really blueprints for all of our students who receive special education services. What we want to work on is how do we continuously develop our team's capacity to write high leverage, rigorous, individualized goals that will lead to a closing of the achievement gap. So we certainly saw some themes of celebration, but also some themes where we want to get stronger in that work. So I have a team of preschool through students, staff members at the Farmington Valley Transitional Academy that are going to be a part of that team. So we collectively build our capacity preschool through that grade 12, grade 13 construct. And then finally, balancing services with finances. I will be sharing with the board in the coming weeks. We had quite an influx of students enrolling in the Simsbury Public Schools with individualized education plans to even a greater percentage than general education counterparts. A particular note is our preschool population. We are starting with 23 students. It's one of the highest numbers that we've ever started with, but also with those numbers come individual stories and individual need. So certainly we'll be sharing more with the board relative to that and implications financially for services as well as staffing. So that's Office of, yes, please, Tom.
Last statement, just to clarify that last statement, I'm not sure I understood the meaning of what you just said. Mm-hmm. Is it that because of the increased demand for services, our budget might not be adequate for the year?
In that area, we're going to look to add some additional support staff to the preschool that we're going to come and talk to you about.
I see.
Yep.
So with students enrolling, there are unanticipated need where we weren't planning to have that number of students here with us in Simsbury.
Understand.
So these move-ins, we always have to take a look at our resource and how best to address the student needs. So certainly more on that.
Great. So on to my office in Human Resources and a snapshot of enrollment as we start the year. It's what I spend a lot of my time doing in August, is monitoring enrollment and adjusting to it. So after we hire all those wonderful 18 teachers that you saw, we have to make sure that we introduce them to Simsbury properly. We have a really high-energy 3-day program that involves some of what you see up here. Aaron and I get to lead the first day with just some welcoming remarks, some orientation to what we value in the district. There's a wonderful opportunity for the teachers who were first-year teachers the year before. We chose 3 of them. This year, Courtney Galati from the middle school, Mike McCain from the high school, and Alice Shortell from Central School came and addressed the teachers about surviving and thriving in that first year in Simsbury, and we thank them for coming and supporting teachers in that way. We certainly talk a little bit about the evaluation system. Sue does a 2-hour session orienting them to special education services within the Simsbury Public Schools. And on a different morning, Aaron and Betsy Gonzalez and some of the department supervisors at the secondary level do a whole curriculum dive with them on for those who are new teachers to the state of Connecticut and need to go through the team process. We've talked about that before with Jan Sands, who is our retired teacher, who we actually had just 4 this year who need to go through that program, but we provided a half-day training for them. And the biggest highlight, of course, is always our bus tour of Simsbury. We do 7 schools in an hour and 10 minutes. They were greeted by the board chair this year to start.
Next year, I think the board chair should go for the ice cream at the end.
Yes.
I wasn't well educated to the.
I'm definitely there.
I called Sue immediately and told her.
So we hit all 7
Ice cream at the end is a
schools,
much better plan.
Yeah,
some of the historical and cultural highlights, and there has been some feedback that there's a heavy emphasis on the Simsbury restaurants, but, you know, I do like to point them out. I took a snapshot on the 3rd day of school, August 30th, and asked our new enrollment coordinator, Laura Shellman, to get me a number for the 3rd day of school. And at that date, we looked at 4,021, which the projection for this year was 4,001, so pretty close. But what I can tell you, 4,021 is going up. I think when I do the official report on October 1st, you'll see it slightly higher than that. And last year's number on October 1st was 4,018. So the enrollment in the Simsbury Public Schools will be slightly larger this year than it was last year. That hasn't happened since 2004-05. That's the last school year in which the population upticked slightly. So that's pretty significant turning point. And you can see, if you can read that small print, that we actually have a pretty significant increase of 50 students at the elementary level, and it's spread across all the grades. Which schools got a concentrated increase in enrollment, it would be Squadron and Latimer Lane, as we watched over the summer, where population was coming in. Pretty much as expected, with this is now that time period when the high school is declining with smaller cohorts coming in.
Just a quick on the 20 above projection, is that creating any stresses or?
So it's causing a stress in kindergarten. If you saw me in late August, you would have seen my stress. And I'll show it to you in a moment. It's on another slide, Jeff. It's a good question. So enrollment is 20 over projections. It's up 3 from last October. So one of the stresses was, in that 4th grade at Latimer Lane, we plan to only have 2 sections of 4th grade in Latimer Lane. By early August, we said we're going to do 3. And kindergarten, I was watching all summer long. We were right at 22 students per grade. Right at the end, it started to increase toward 23, so that you could see on the slide here. I've highlighted in red the classes where we did see it creep up to 1 above your guidelines. Especially in kindergarten, we felt we needed to put some additional support in place. So in each of those schools where you see Latimer, Squadron, and Tooten Hills, we have added resources of certified tutors into those classrooms to pull small literacy groups, to pull small math groups, so that what you've really essentially done is put a shared resource across that grade level for all the teachers to utilize.
Is that resource in each building or in?
That resource is in each building.
Okay.
We've hired, we're actually hiring kind of 2 tutors to share that load at Squadron, 1 at Tooten Hills, and sort of 1.5, if you will, at Latimer, to support each classroom. And again, it's a tutor, so it's a different rate of pay, but they are skilled teachers, and that is. We sort of just made it with our kindergartens, and we're going to have to monitor this really closely as we go into budget season, because it's quite possible that each of those schools is going to need an additional 1st grade.
Right.
And
With the in-migration we normally see from K to
we
1.
really have to watch that
Those
over
will
the
be
summer.
in budget talks. Yep.
Neil, could you comment on 6th grade at Central, 24 and 25? Does our max number go up as?
From 3rd grade to 6th grade, your max number is up to 25.
Okay.
K to 2, it's up to 22.
Got it.
So that number did not move all summer. That was 49 all summer. No one came in, no one came out.
Okay, thanks for that
yeah.
reminder. I forgot that.
Yeah. And in terms of what the work ahead, as I talked about earlier, we are in the heart of negotiations with our administrators and teachers. That'll be certainly important work out of my office in the next 2 months. I will note also that we'll be in negotiations with our secretaries and paraprofessional union in the spring. So it's a sort of a heavy year related to negotiations. As the superintendent said before, we will be leading the Facilities and Enrollment Task Force through at least 2 meetings in the fall with the purpose of bringing you kind of the best thinking of that group to this board as we look at some of that work that Tecton has done. We're still trying to figure out the exact timing of launching our high school principal search. We knew that the beginning of a school year was not the right time to do that. Certainly, we've gotten great feedback about the role that our interim principal, Steve Petrina, has played. They had a terrific start at the high school, and we'll be bringing more information to you about the exact start date of that search and when an interview process. We don't have it nailed down yet, but we expect to be doing that in the next little piece of the fall here. Under safety and security, certainly the transition of our new director, who you met tonight. Sue and I are going to be presenting to you in 2 weeks about some programming through the Sandy Hook Promise, and we'll get into more detail about that at our meeting on September 24th. And then continued infrastructure improvements. We did do a number of security upgrades that I'll let Mr. Leclerc take away with his slideshow here in a second. And then lastly, important focus for me, along with Aaron in the fall, is professional development work with our teachers. Our November election day, full day PD, is really going to be focused around some heavy duty across the district professional development around vision of the graduate for our teachers. Mm-hmm. And then also sort of a new little more of a grassroots kind of turning over some time to teachers and saying, almost like an invent your own PD. And teachers are really excited about that opportunity to be able to define some of their own learning. So exciting, and that's something we'll be working on over the next little bit of time.
Okay, thank you. So before I get into the visual portion, I always start as our board exhibit does with just a real brief snapshot on the year-end fiscal status. So for the 2018-19 fiscal year, financial reporting to the state is always due the first of September. So just as school is getting ready to open, and I always have to give a lot of credit to Kira Sheehan, who is our Board of Ed accountant and budget analyst, and she really does the bulk of all of that work. And now we're getting ready for the auditors to come. The town and Board of Education will be audited on that same 2018-19 budget. The other area that's under the business office that's busy in the summer is the technology area, systems technology. So Jason Casey and all his staff supporting the one-to-one Henry James Chromebook work that Aaron spoke about earlier, and then also improvements to our network itself. So I want to thank Jason for the work that he and his staff did. And then we start getting the buildings ready every summer, and the fire marshal's office in Simsbury does a very thorough inspection before school starts every year in all 7 schools, and all of those issues get taken care of prior to the start of school. So I want to give thanks to our supervisor of buildings and grounds, Steve Twitchell, and new director of operations, Andy O'Brien. So as some of you know, this will be Steve's last year doing this for opening of school, because he's retiring later this year. So to give you a few visual highlights of some of the summer improvement projects, this is a picture of the oil tank removal at Simsbury High School, one of the 2 capital projects regarding oil tank removals. We have one coming up at Terrafield School. We actually have bids opening later this week and expect that work to happen later this fall. This is the backside of Simsbury High School. We had redid the drop-off sidewalk areas where parents do drop off, and also made that accessible. Certainly the largest project that we were engaged in this summer is the Henry James renovation project. This is in the back where the Library Media Center was rising up out of the dirt. And we see ultimately the frame of that has gone up. You see some writing on the beams of this. Thank you, you make it worth it. This was in response to some posters that our students put on the outside of the school windows so that the construction folks could see that, and thanking them for their work. So there's been a very good start to the school year. A lot was done over the summer. Just to give you a few visuals, this is a view as you come in the front, which now has a new parking configuration. The crane was putting some of the auditorium steel into place. This is from inside the second floor, looking at that new auditorium area from the second floor. So inside the building, you could also, what you couldn't see from the outside is there was abatement work happening, and extensive, this is actually the first floor looking out towards the road. And when the school was built in 1957, I believe, it was a high school, and it was half the size, and then about 2 years later, they added on. So we found the original curbing and some of the items from that older parking lot as they were excavating. So before moving on, just speaking about Henry James, you can see the extent both inside and out. I just want to give a lot of kudos to Scott Baker and Jeanette Belmonte, their staff, and especially the custodians. So they had very limited time when the rooms were turned back to them with just a few weeks left to go, and got everything ready for the start of school. So they did an outstanding job. Security enhancements. This is a picture of Tooten Hills, the bollards that were installed at all of our K-6 schools, and also in the rear of Henry James. I have another picture. This is the entrance to Central School. What you don't see well from this picture is that is now the new vestibule, and after hours, that's where parents and visitors go, and we have that more modern setup where you have to go through the main office in order to gain entry. In Squadron Line, we did an upgrade to an ADA accessible restroom that was very needed for some of the programs that we offer there. So our staff did this, essentially the general contracting for that. Also at Squadron Line, the board recalls the large donation from the PTO at Squadron Line to upgrade the Library Media Center. So this was the Board of Ed's contribution to that, was to replace the carpeting, do all the painting and other upgrades, and then furniture and those items that were added on. We have some of it in, not all of it in, but you'll be able to see later this fall. But just really gave a great new fresh look to that space. So that's a quick highlight of work that was done. And again, want to really give thanks to Steve and Andy and all of the custodians in all of our buildings, as well as the district-wide maintenance staff. Looking ahead, similar to, there's some overlap with Neil in terms of facilities master plan, and working through phase 3 renovations at Henry James. Start of school next year should be the completion of that. We have additional security work to do, more vestibule work. We start a new project for design of the high school roof replacement work, which we plan to do next summer. That was funded. Still need to do the Latimer Lane boiler project, and we'll be working on the next round of CIP planning shortly.
Is there
Yes.
anything in the program for next year, I can't remember, to renovate the sports fields at Simsbury High School?
Yes, so that'll be on the capital planning. We had 2 recent meetings with Jeff Pinney, the athletic director, and Steve Petrina, who's sitting in the principal's seat right now, and I'm going to focus on 2 things. One that we'll be bringing forward is a redo of the bleachers, which are from the 60s, and the other is a reconfiguration and a better space utilization of the fields out back. So some proposals on that.
Thank you.
Yep.
I will
Jen?
say on the athletics thing, the new entrance, I don't know if anybody has high
Yes.
schoolers.
Yes.
It's crazy that just a few letters
Yes.
on signage on there makes that entrance so
Yes.
much brighter and
It is
friendlier. I was like, we should add letters everywhere.
They are.
So to that point, they are.
They are.
Oh, they are.
Everybody had the same reaction, so they're going to do it above the main
I
entrance.
was like, the
as
main
well.
entrance needs
Yeah.
a little
Yes,
little
they
letters.
It does look great. That's funny you said that.
It's awesome.
I love it.
Yeah, it's great. Anyone else? It's an awful lot of work. I will say, though, that I've been following it closely on the Instagram,
Oh,
Henry
good.
James Instagram.
Oh,
So
good.
you all should look into that if you'd like, because it's been fun to watch the Henry James evolution. It's a lot of great work. Thank you so much, Burke, and I know you're overseeing it all. And Neil, thank you for all of your watching all these students and teachers and all of the teachers coming through. And I love I'm just so glad to have Erin back talking about her plan for the vision of the graduate and all of the PD that she's planning. And so you've got, I guess, more kids coming than you ever knew were coming. And you're doing it with a smile. It's great. I know. We'll just make sure we have places and times and what they need.
That's right.
And thank you very much for all your hard summer work. We've all been working just as hard. Encouraging you.
Yes.
A couple things that I wanted to mention that were happening that I didn't mention in opening statements because I was too anxious to move on. And I'm sorry, Mr. Curtis, that
Oh, that's fine.
But the one thing I want to say is 2020 is going to be, Simsbury is going to be 350 years old. So I wanted everybody here to know about it. I want our school districts to know about it because I don't know what we're planning to do for it, but it would be really nice if we had some fun projects or connections to celebrate that, because not every town turns 350 years old, and very few turn it in my lifetime. So it's pretty exciting.
How old are you?
Well, I did hit the 300th, just barely, just saying. And it was quite a celebration. But the other thing I wanted to mention was there is another project for all ages, which is a thing that's working with the Simsbury schools that, I don't know if you guys know about it, but it's a foundation that was started to incorporate older people and younger people to communicate, to look each other in the eye and actually communicate and be together. So this group has worked with some of the Simsbury schools, so the Simsbury teachers, and they are building Adirondack chairs in the tech department with students. And then they are going to paint these chairs with the art department and I think the art honors program. And then they're going to place them in pairs around town for places for conversation. So it's kind of a cool program. It's a brand new foundation and for all ages, and it's online if you want to look it up. But I'm very excited to have that be part of our, we're always looking at how the Simsbury schools can work with the community, and I think this is a great place to start. So I thought that was very fun. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you for listening. Moving on to public audience again. Please, stand up, state your name, and you've got 3 minutes.
Sure. Name is Tim Prugar, 101 Hedgehog Lane in West Simsbury. In Ms. Murray's presentation, it was very clear that one of the priorities of the district is STEM at all age levels. When speaking about the Lego League program, it struck me that Squadron Line is not participating, so a twofold question. One, why is Squadron Line not participating? And two, does it concern the board that such a large portion of the elementary population not only does not have access to this program, but also does not have access to STEM mentors and role models at the high school?
So I can get more information regarding Squadron and the other schools that is Terrafil that are not participating. We do have a 6th grade teacher, Dave Palinkas at Squadron Line, that has done some pretty exciting work. And again, I wasn't there and available in the springtime, but where 6th grade students were actually working hand in hand with some younger kindergarten, 1st grade. So there's a little bit of that happening, and probably not enough, but it's certainly an area that we can look at.
I would also say that they do have a pretty extensive Lego club. I can't speak to why they're not in this program,
Okay.
but they do have a Lego club.
Okay.
Thank you very much. We'll look into it for you. Anyone else? Kids, how'd you think? What'd you think? You all good? Do you have homework to do?
Yeah.
All right. Then our future business is, our next meeting is September 24th on Tuesday, and we'll see you all there. I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Lydia. Second? Anything? Anyone? All in favor? All right. Thank you very much. You're free to go. Oh, I thought.